resource recovery and reuse, organic solid waste and wastewater. Number 5, provision of food, fibre and fuel. Number 6, restoration and conservation of biodiversity. And the last expected outcome is the provision of aesthetical, spiritual, educational and recreational landscapes. Okay, statement about the issues. Space and natural resources to arrest land speculation. So what we're looking at, as we've talked about yesterday and this morning, case study work, with the methods and the tools, and then using a case study approach in locations, in peri-urban areas, where we know that these are outstanding issues. We then developed a case study approach with the live data, and then use that to actually implement pilot projects, and so that we actually have an implementation linked to the project. And that way we could also then look at things of external funding sources, things like climate change, carbon counting, all these kind of tools that you could tap into then, because we're building a pilot project. In some ways, similar to that fantastic example, that lovely booklet that's been handed around with the local project here with the river restoration. So having specific activities that we will then implement to improve, which will then become a form of action research where we could monitor, constantly improve, and voila, we have a landscape solution, hopefully.
So, the focus of the proposal is really about developing a comprehensive framework of analysis to optimize the use of all waters present in the water cycle. In other words, we are looking at a situation where we have a number of water sources of various quality. All waters are good water for certain uses, right? So we are looking at just fresh water or recycling water or urban runoff or you name it, and then how we can use that that portfolio of water for different to satisfy different demands. Treat or modify the quality of water using not only technological but also economic criteria. So the broad aim of the project is really to be able to account for all those waters, all those sources of water, and account for the use of water and the potential demand for that water in future. So that's the broad aim of the project. Specifically, we need to do a baseline accounting of where we are at the moment, a snapshot of the system as such.
For the rules for accountability and transparency recommended, a set of performance indicators for good governance developed, drivers of policy making identified, and rules of equity identified. So the rationale was sharing of
social, economic, and livability of peri-urban landscapes. The expected outcomes and outputs are as follows: quantify the economic contribution of peri-urban agriculture, a model of improving quality of life for people in peri-urban landscape, identify the indicators of quality of life, evidence-based policy implementations and planning, through value chain analysis, the identification of future employment opportunities, and better understanding of what constitutes quality of life for people in the urban, peri-urban areas. We have the statement about the issue, and I think most of this is done by our colleague Edwin, and we added some of it. So you're free to read this. And the rationale for our study are as follows. Policymakers do not see the importance of peri-urban agriculture, so the economic contribution does not appear to be well known. So this is part of our research project that we want policymakers to know the importance of agriculture in the peri-urban area. There is a need to understand what is quality of life impacted by urbanization and the dynamic of UPA area, and the concept of quality of life is largely contextual cultural. There is a need to develop a measurement of quality of life for the area to be researched. So eventually we will identify this area. The overall aim of the project is to identify and quantify ways in which quality of life in the peri-urban areas might be impacted. And specific objectives, some of the objectives that the group has actually identified are as follows. develop quality of life indicators, quantify the economic value of peri-urban area of agriculture in the peri-urban areas, create awareness and educate at different levels.
But I think there's a really good need to get that context into the research at some point. I think ethnography is a really good way to develop a picture of what this area looks like in a way that's really communicable to others. So I think that's really important.